Hello and welcome to this taste challenge. I can't really say Dawn Busters. It's barely coming daylight, but I think we reached to that this time of the year as the days grow shorter and the nights grow longer. Okay, but anyway, especially with daylight savings time. But anyway, I have two bourbon whiskey products. Here is Nelson's Green Brier, Tennessee handmade sour mash whiskey, handmade in a factory. Okay, like Tito's, Tito's handmade vodka, handmade in a factory. Okay, anyway, no use harping on that. But this was introduced in 2014. It was brought back from an old company that had gone out of business in 1909. They try to kind of recreate the legend of it. They brought back a label they brought a label which was similar to the original with some adjustments to it to make it fit the modern requirements. But I guess they have some people that buy this stuff. See it around. Walmart got rid of it. And I don't think they got rid of it because it was popular. There it goes. It focused. They got rid of it because it probably wasn't selling, and they sold it for $10, so I bought it. I mean, I was planning to buy it eventually. As I made my rounds, I got so many bourbons now, I certainly don't need any. But for $10, I wasn't passing it up. So gets good scores on the internet. People seem to like it. I like it. Think it's most excellent. It's only aged 2 years. Doesn't claim to be straight whiskey. It just says Tennessee sour mash whiskey. Why isn't it called straight? I think maybe because it might have some coloring or flavoring added. They're allowed to do that. If you read the Tennessee whiskey regulations, it just says it has to be at least 51% corn, aged in new charred oak barrels, and before it's aged, they have to let it drip through the charcoal. They call it the Lincoln County process. But there's one company in Tennessee that was exempt from the law, grandfathered in, and then they age it and bottle it. Some people say, well, that means it's not bourbon because it's dripped through maple charcoal before aging. Well, it's got nothing to do with it. If you drip bourbon through charcoal, it doesn't make it not a bourbon. They just call it Tennessee whiskey because it is made in Tennessee. Okay, so there's some controversy about that, but people just don't understand it, basically. That's all a marketing thing anyway. Jeppson's Bourbon, a blend of straight bourbon whiskey. So this is a blend. Carl Jeppson Company, Chicago, Illinois. They bottle it in Chicago. It's got the Chicago crest on there. This is the older label. This is the one I still see around here. If you look at the website, we're going to look at that in a minute. They show a newer bottle, which I've not seen yet. I got to put this non-chill filtered. Non-chill filtered. So they don't use chill filtering. Some people say that hurts the whiskey. Other people say, oh, no, that's just a myth, whatever. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. A blend of straight bourbon whiskeys aged a minimum of 4 years and non-chill filtered. And it says, well, on the website, it's kind of confusing. And I think there's a discrepancy there. I'll show you in a minute. Let's see this. Sugar maple charcoal, 2 years, new charred oak barrels. Yeah, all the requirements. Doesn't say anything about non-chill filtering. Okay. Not gonna wear it out. All right. I hear the birds now. They're waking up. I'll probably hear that hawk in a little bit. That they call it a red. I think it's, if I'm identifying it correctly, a red-shouldered hawk. You just won't hear him till the sun is up. Once you hear him squawking, you know it's daytime. And then when it gets dark, he's wherever he goes and sleeps or something like that. Okay, a 91 proof. There you go. They make a lot of other products too, by the way. Some of it is sourced. I think This because their distillery isn't old, and they had to get it sourced. Some of it now they're more and more of it they're doing on their own. It says produced and bottled by Nelson. So this is not produced for them; it's bottled produced by them in house. This is not produced by Jeppson's. It's simply bottled by them or blended and bottled. Well, what they do is, well, I'll show you on the website. Don't want to pour too much of this 100 proof stuff. Woof. Asking for it. Plus, I don't want to waste it. Two reasons. My friend David gave this to me as a gift one year around Christmas time. So thank you, David. It runs close to $30. So they both run about $28 to $30. I'd look for 28, honestly. $28.99, yeah. Or if you see it at Walmart for $10 like I did, hey. But now I've never seen Jeppson's on discount. Nope. Let's look at the websites, and then I'll turn the lamps on. Green Brier. Nice looking website, nice photo there. Rocks glass. Glencairn. It is a blend of corn, wheat, and malted barley. Mostly corn by law. And some wheat and malted barley of some percentage we don't know. They don't say. So I can't. I could guess. I'm not going to. Okay, there you go. Tours, and I'm sure it's very nice. It's a new building. The old distillery was a dilapidated relic, not even close to being worth ruin. Maybe a landmark, something like that. All right, there's the new label. There's another one called a 90 proof, which I think I'd prefer the 90 proof. I like lighter proof stuff myself. Then they got the single barrel program. Well, I think you have to order these, so I don't think you'll see them in a store. You might talk to a store and they'll order it for you. That's probably possible, definitely possible. Gold medal by Beverage Tasting Institute. Non-filtered Indiana. Now see here it says Indiana and Tennessee blend, but up above it says Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So see, there's a problem here on the website. I don't know. Now they're showing the Glencairn glass. I don't know what the problem is there. But I guess I can't worry about it because they don't say, and I'm not going to take time to write them an email. And this is the Malort, which I heard things about Malort. I can't comment. Look, they're showing people. I can't comment. It says Malort, enjoy responsibly. Get it? It's not a drink for most people, but we're not people. So it's sort of a gimmick product, but well, I guess some people like it or prank people with it or something. I don't know. I don't want to find out, honestly. But I like exotic flavors, I guess. So, okay. Herbie in India. You think Jeppson's is better? Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. It's a blend of straight bourbons. But if you read the regulations, a blend of straight bourbons is allowed to have flavoring added. Now, on its own, straight bourbon can't have flavoring or coloring added on its own. But if you blend straight bourbons, it is allowed to have coloring and flavoring. And label disclosure is not required. Now, you say, well, that's crazy. Like those regulations don't even make sense. I agree with that. They don't really make sense, but they do exist. And I didn't make the regulations, so I can only comment on it. I can say I don't believe it makes sense, but that's the rule. So could it have flavoring? Yes, and it may not, and may have coloring, may not. You could write to the company if they gave you a definitive answer, like no way, it has no coloring or flavoring. Then you'd know. If they dodged the question and says something like, oh, we don't comment on that, then you know the answer by them not answering it. So definitely the Nelson's is darker. It's copper. This one is more of an amber gold. I don't think I'll have to close my eyes. I don't think it's that different. I mean, some are so different that if you glance and saw it, you'd know. just by glancing down. Some are so pale and some are so dark. You have to close your eyes or you're going to see which is which. I believe blind taste tests are important. I see a lot of people doing non-blind. That's fine, but does it really take care of all the problems? Like somebody last night yesterday afternoon, actually, I watched, they were doing a beer, canned version versus bottled. And they were talking about the different attributes of each version. Can't remember what beer it was, but a very popular brand. Paulaner, that's right. Paulaner Hefeweizen. Good product. We get it around here sometimes. But it wasn't a blind taste test. They just drinking it, looking at it, canned, and pouring the bottle, looking at it, talking about it. One guy said preferred can, one preferred bottle. But can you really tell them apart? You wouldn't know until you did a blind taste test. You don't know until you do that. You have to do that. They didn't do it, so they don't. They used to do that with the Pepsi challenge, remember? One time we were in front of St. Louis Cathedral in New Orleans, the Pepsi challenge, and there's a lot of tourists passing in front of there. So they were asking, would you like to do the Pepsi challenge? They say, yeah. And then they made a television commercial. They used to do that all the time. And you know what the commercials would say, people prefer Pepsi in a blind taste test. They didn't know which was which. Of course, some other people did further research and they found out, yes, that's true. In initial tasting, Pepsi tends to win. But what they didn't tell you in the commercial was with repeated sips, as they sip down the two cups or glasses, then they found Pepsi was a little, like, they didn't like it as much. The Coke caught up and passed it. And maybe they knew Coke was going to come out with that challenge to their challenge, and then they dropped it because all of a sudden you never saw Pepsi challenge again. Could that be the case with liquor? Yeah, it could. That one will initially be so good, and then you keep drinking it, and it's like, man, I don't know about this stuff. It's kind of off-putting in a way. Morning, Ron. Hope you are well, says Joe Cobb in Canada. I am. Same to you, Joe. Herbie says Coke is better. Okay, in your opinion, you can't objectively say that because there's no way you could. Okay. But I knew what you meant. Joe says, sadly, I still can't buy bourbon in Ontario. No American liquor at the LCBO. A lot of other provinces dropped that a while ago, but Ontario is Ontario. Yeah, that's going to blow over eventually, because they're kind of seeing that as all just a bargaining strategy. That Trump approach, that it's just a psychological approach. You understand? Bluster, big talk, get people nervous. And then, but it's all to get, bargaining tool to get people to give in to him. His goal, obviously, he says it all the time. His goal is to have even trade with all the countries. Like bilateral trade agreements, country to country, like say Canada, you have no tariffs on our products and we'll put no tariffs on yours. But the countries resist. No. Why are you resisting? Because your trade will dominate our trade. But he's saying, well, that's just the way it goes. Every country is not the same size. And we have free trade, not that so-called free trade agreement from 1992. I think it was approved in 93, approved in 94. Well, it really goes back to 92. What am I saying? Because George Bush started the negotiations and Clinton finished it, and then it was signed. But if it was free trade, why was it a 2,000-page document? It was really heavily regulated trade with all kind of features in it. And that's what the critic says, isn't it? Free trade would be 1 page. But how you can't sell that to the Senate. You're not going to get the Senate to approve this complicated, heavily regulated trade document. They say, what? So they frame it. It's how you frame it, right? Now, Trump is saying, that's the old way of doing it. We're doing it the new way. No regulated, no Of course, you have to have regulations, like you can't send obviously dangerous products here that would make people sick. But no tariffs. What are you saying? Free trade, meaning free trade would mean that like you sell whatever you want here, no tax, and then we sell whatever we want there. No import tax. We're talking about now state tax. That's up to the state, you know, or the province. I mean, a lot of Canadians, most successful industries like cars, we built stuff for the U.S. anyways. Right. That's right. Like the Camaro was built in Canada, starting in 1993 model year. But that one wasn't successful. People didn't like it. It wasn't a very good looking car. It was kind of ugly car. I thought it was like, And then it turned some people off, made in Canada, it's an import, Montreal. And then 9 years later, they dropped Camaro. They did bring Camaro back, but it's gone again. All right. So we'll see what happens. It's all about that. And he's having this trouble with Russia because he thought, remember, I'm going to end this war in one day. Well, it's been a long day. Been half a year, over half a year. Well, almost, right? What am I saying? July 20th would be half a year. I guess he just thought, well, I'll tell them that everybody to calm down and they'll work it out. Well, I don't like that approach anyway. Even Ford factories that made parts up here and then shipped them to be assembled in the U.S. Yeah. Yes, Canada has a lot of protectionism. And then they're defensive about it. It's like, well, we have to do it. Well, no, you don't have to do it. You just want to do it because you want to protect Canadian companies, and you're not protecting the general welfare, you're protecting special interests. The U.S. government does the same thing. Why do you think they got all these whiskey regulations? To protect the consumer? Not really. To protect big companies. Okay, aroma, standard. Yeah, standard. So appearance isn't really that different, and one's a little darker. And aroma is about the same. Popularity about the same, meaning not really too popular. I can't make a company popular or not popular. I'm just commenting on what I'm seeing. If you see a whiskey sometimes in stores versus every liquor store, what's popular, right? You can see Jim Beam in every liquor store in the world. All right, there you go. Well, maybe not in Canada now, but you know what I'm saying, all Maine. But if you see Jeppson's, well, I know Rouse's has it, but then nobody else has it. Or Nelson's, yeah, I know one store has it. Okay, well then that's telling you it's not that popular. It has a following, be a little small following, and I'm not saying it doesn't make money. It might make a little money, but it's not going to touch Jack Daniels or Crown Royal. Or it's funny, Americans didn't have the same anti-Canada thing. They got all upset with Trump, but then Americans were like, there was no boycott against Crown Royal or anything. Like, I'm drinking my Crown, It just wasn't any kind of uproar here over it. It's just Americans were obviously watching the news, the few that do. Most Americans don't pay attention to the news, and saying, oh, look, they're getting so upset. What's wrong with those people? Why are they so emotional up there? And that is an impression I have of Canadians, that they're overly emotional. They get very angry over what I would consider like trivial things, like you get angry over that. That's like trivial. That's not important. I had one 5 years ago get all enraged, unfriend me on Facebook. I was like, what is your problem? You're like, one day, I'm your biggest fan. I love all your videos. Can I join your hangouts? Yeah, of course. Well, you should come visit us one day. You got a place to stay if you come to Ontario. All that talk, Some people don't mean that, But I would, if I tell somebody to come stay, I mean it. But I never tell anybody that. Okay, but except my family. But we were talking about weapons, and I have no interest in rifles or anything, honestly. But I'm not against them. I'm just have no interest in them. I'm not interested in card games either, but I'm not against them. But we were saying something, and then he jumped in the conversation. Fine, don't mind that. He's like, well, in Canada, and he went on kind of like a long pronouncement. In Canada, we don't allow that kind of stuff, and so forth. Like he's telling us something we don't know. I said, okay, but all I said was, well, Canada needs to run things their way because they're their own country, and we'll run things our way. It's our country. Boom, unfriended me on Facebook. I said, what is the problem? You're like super fan, and now you don't like me? Well, you insulted me. I said, I didn't insult you at all. You don't even discuss things. And that's what I'm talking about, this emotionalism. It's like you jumped in the conversation. And then cried about it when somebody didn't agree with you. That's what I'm talking about. If you can't stand heat, why are you starting fires? It's just Canadian media is a lot more controlled by the government. Well, that's true. And fuels people's beliefs. And they tend to trust the government all the time. So they just go along with what they told. Canada sends money to Ukraine, but we can't even pay our NATO dues, right? Yeah, I know. We won't get on to the Ukraine thing because that'll start a big controversy, and I have ideas about that, of course. I'll just leave it at I stand with neutrality. People ask me about what do you think about Russia, Ukraine? I say I stand with neutrality. That would kind of sum it up in a nutshell. And with these two products here, I stand with price point. I'll get whatever one is cheap because I'm not tasting much difference, even though one's 91 proof and the other one's 100 proof. It's a bit of a difference. But taste-wise, they're pretty even. But I'm going to give a little bit more chance to. It is changing with the younger generation of Canadians, though we are less likely to just go along with all of it, in my opinion. Well, that's good. Starting to question. We're not saying they should become, revolutionaries. But it's good to question. Doesn't mean you're disloyal. It's just say, I have a question. I'm wondering, why is it that you support this policy? That's not being a rebel. The Americans were rebels. It wasn't questioning, they were rebels. More young right-wing Canadian voters last election than older one. I saw that. It could change here. But anyway. Most Americans don't understand the American Revolution. They'll talk about it. They don't understand it. They'll say they were trying to take away our guns. I said, no, they weren't. But in their mind, you see, in their minds, they think the British had some kind of gun confiscation program, which wasn't true. Or they were trying to make us pay all these taxes. A 1 penny tax on tea. Oh, wow, that's a big thing, boy. You got to get upset about that now. And these same people will pay 30% tax, all these high income taxes with no problem, Oh, I'm represented. Okay. But then that's that whole thing. Oh, a 1 penny tax. Oh. Like one American said, I'd rather be ruled by a tyrant 3,000 miles away than 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away. he didn't win a popularity contest saying that, right? Made sense though. I'd rather be ruled by a tyrant 3,000 miles away who has no practical control over the country than 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away. He could see where it was going. All right. But anyway, you got to frame it right. Correct. Got to have a revolution so we can control you. Well, that ain't going to really capture the imagination of the people. Okay. This one's a little stronger, so I think it's the Jeppsons. Almost said Malort. Jeppson. Is it better? I wouldn't say that. Like I said, the flavor's almost the same. Sweet corn, a little softness from wheat, I guess, and some rye spice. But they're all blended. You can't. It's hard to detail those things. They got people that get on the internet, act like they can, or maybe they can. I don't know. They might have exceptional taste ability. To me, it just seemed like a blend. It's all blended. Well, that's what it is. A blend. It's blended. Is bourbon a blended whiskey? Yes. In fact, it is. Unless it's 100% corn of one batch. Okay, that would be a difference. But generally, it's blended. And they got Americans will say, I hate blended whiskey, but I love bourbon. Well, what are you talking about? Bourbon is a type of blended whiskey. Okay. Do they have some Americans that are overly emotional and fly off the handle and do that? Yeah, of course. If it's politics, bourbon, beer, it's baby cry with some of these people. Baby cry. All this crying, I don't understand. These are grown men and they're crying. Not literally crying, but they act like they are. You're going to get angry over bourbon? What is your problem? What is your major malfunction? Oh, man. I'm telling you, and they are quick to call names, but slow to reason. You know people like that. You and I know people like that. Quick to call names and slow to use reason. I think if they tried, they could reason, they could use logic, but they don't try. It's easier just to call names, you don't have to think. And you can unfriend somebody and run off and go affiliate with people that agree with you. That's called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is you only affiliate with people with whom you agree. And then you can say, well, see, I was right. Well, yeah, because you joined a group where everybody agrees. So yeah, okay, you were right because you chose to affiliate with people with whom you agree, without no mental challenge. You don't want any cognitive dissonance. That would involve thinking, and thinking involves that. It results in it. When I used to teach psychology, we talked about that. Framing, how you frame something is important. The American Revolution, for example, is how you frame it. Get more support if you frame things correctly. Confirmation bias is another mental exercise that in which people engage. Then you don't have to think. I know people at work. They hate Trump. Easy to do, doesn't require any thought, and they watch news channels that confirm their thinking. He told me, "Oh, you watch all that. All you watch is that Fox 8." I said, "You talking about Fox News channel? Because Fox 8 is a local television channel." Yeah. I said, "Well, I don't even watch that channel." You see? And he's telling me, "You Republicans are all." I said, "I'm not even a Republican." So that's what I'm saying. This thinking, which doesn't involve thought. Master of Malt in the United Kingdom are doing a big push on blended Scotch as they have a terrible rep over here, says James Ashbourne of, I guess you live in the United Kingdom. I don't know what country of the United Kingdom. That was a very unfair thing that happened over the years where it became cliche to rip on blended Scotch. And that's exactly what I'm talking about in this video. A few people say it, and then all the cool, Hertford, England. Oh, that's cool. I've been to England twice, on the way out and on the way in. But they say, oh yeah, only the cool people drink single malt. The dummies, the dweebs, and the nitwits drink blended Scotch. Oh, didn't you hear? Blended Scotch is so out. It's so terrible. When did that happen? Because it was everybody liked it until a few years ago when all of a sudden you weren't supposed to like it. And the blended Scotch companies are like, what the hell is this? I mean, you know how much time it takes to get these things blended correctly? What is all of this? And all it is hype, fanatical hype, fanatics. And yeah, you say, oh yeah, if you want to find fanatics, go to the beer, wine, and liquor world. Beer, wine, and liquor world, that's what Facebook does. It attracts fanatics. It's the playground of fanatics. It's where maniacs come to play, let's be honest. All right, so I think this is the Green Brier could seem a little milder. Shockingly, it's the Jeppsons. Well, there you go. 2 wrong so far. Got it wrong twice. Not surprising, because what did I say when I started this series? I said it could be a tricky thing. Tricky thing. Because I didn't find that Green Brier tasted really appreciably different from other bourbons that I have. A little bit here and there, a little different, not too much. And when you're reviewing things that are all about the same, then of course you're going to have trouble differentiating them, which twice now I couldn't do it. Do I feel bad about it? No, I don't. I mean, I wish I would be 100% like with the rye. Now, Well, how come I got Woodford? Not Woodford, although that's a great one. How come I got Knob Creek Rye correct every time? 100% correct. Never got it wrong. Well, it stands out. Knob Creek Rye does not taste like your everyday rye whiskey. No. So, consequently, none of the other rye whiskeys I own really competed very well. They got trounced. Let's say it that way. Some did better than others. Woodford Reserve is an example, but they still lost. Sazerac Rye lost. Woodford Reserve, they all lost. Nelson's Green Brier. That brings us to the last point. Should you be paying all this extra money for these two products when you can get easily get a straight bourbon for $10 less? Full size bottle. Not $28.99, $18.99. And my answer is no, 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 you should not be paying more. You say, yeah, I'll say no. He said, well, I got to have bottle and bond, 100 proof bottle and bond. Okay, you can get that for $17, $18, easily. And it'll compete with these two. This is my theory. This is my contention. Do I like these two products? Certainly do. Are they most excellent? Are they an A bourbon? Do they score an A? Yes. Could they both have flavoring added? Yes. Do they have flavoring added? I don't know. Do they have coloring added? I don't know. Would it be allowed? Yes. I can't comment on that. I'm just telling you what the regulations say. Are they quality? Yes. Are they worth the extra $10? No. And if that upsets people, I'm sorry. But they don't. Thankfully, I didn't buy this one. It was given to me. And thankfully, I only paid $10 for that. It's just a fact. I'm not bragging on it. Walmart had it for $10, so I bought it. Would I have eventually bought it? Probably. But it might have been when I'm 80, So that's it. Now, what's going to happen? So thank you, Jeppson's, for making a nice bourbon. Well, let me say it correctly. Thank you, Jeppson's, for sourcing a nice bourbon and bottling it after blending it. Thank you. How is Nelson's going to do in the upcoming challenges? It'll be the same. Some of the 80 proof, I don't want to call them shabby, but they're just kind of mild, very mild. Yeah, it'll beat those because but their nature, that's their nature. They're 80 proof for a reason. Some people like mild bourbon. They don't want heavy, strong, knock you in the head bourbons. There is a place for personal preference in the beer, wine, and liquor world. Snobs notwithstanding. The fanatics will tell you, no, there is no place for that. You have to like certain products, and you're not allowed to like, I'm the gatekeeper. I'm the gatekeeper. I'm running this outfit, meaning the beer world, whatever. No, you're not the gatekeeper. People can drink whatever they want. They don't need you to regulate their preferences. I'm looking at Rolling Rock while I'm on this rant and rave. And I'm looking at it because that's a perfect example, Rolling Rock. Some people love that beer. And when you got these other people their eyes will roll in the back. If you say Rolling Rock, they'll go they might attack you. How dare you drink that? That is not a good beer. And I'm unanimous. Oh, really? Okay, well, thank you. So Green Brier will win some and lose some. That's the way it's going to be. It's just going to be up and down on that. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Unless you got to pay for it. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.